Massachusetts is taking a hard look at its tobacco laws and may soon become the second state in the nation to require tobacco buyers be 21 years old. It's a proposal that, as we found, has some mixed reaction.
I totally support the ban.
But I also think it could create a market for tobacco being sold in other forms that would be harder to regulate.
Just like you can't stop people from smoking marijuana, you won't stop people from smoking cigarettes.
When you're 18 years old, you can get married, you can have kids, you can take a loan, you can go to join the army, but you're not allowed to smoke.
Joining me now to take the debate a little bit further, John Hurst. He's president of the Retailers Association of Massachusetts. They oppose the measure. John, good to see you. And Alan Balsam is director of the Health Department in Brookline, which raised its smoking age to 21 a couple of years ago. Alan, good to see you too.
Thanks.
Why is this a good idea, please?
Well, I think it'll make it more difficult for young people to initiate smoking, and we know that if kids don't start smoking when they're kids, they're unlikely to start as adults. I think we've...
Is that what happened? Does it happen in Brookline? Is there any evidence that's happened?
Oh, yeah. Our rates of tobacco are among the lowest in the state. Tobacco use, about 5% of kids now smoke, and they've gone down over the years as we've extended other regulations.
You know, the sense I get, John, from at least reading your comments, you're not disagreeing with the public health argument, are you? You're just saying it's bad for business, right?
We're really looking at this at an economic standpoint, Jim. Look, you know, the other state that did this was Hawaii. You know, we're not an island. We certainly have concerns with our members up on the border. You know, are they going to lose customers, and with it, not only customers that are buying tobacco, but all sorts of other products. But, you know, beyond that, the legislation also picks winners and losers. It bans tobacco purchases in places like a pharmacy or even a Walmart or a BJ's because they sell optical equipment. Lenses and things of that nature. So, you know, why should the government really pick winners and losers in the marketplace? We have that problem, and it also doesn't preempt local action.
What does that mean?
Well,
that a city or town could decide to do further.
Brookline's already
changing.
looking at a ban for anyone that was born in 1995 or later. Effectively, a lifelong ban for anyone.
Let me just get back to where I said a minute ago. You don't quarrel with the public health benefit. You're saying, despite the public health benefit, it's so bad for business that it outweighs what he says is a plus. Is that a fair statement?
Well, there's a bit of a nanny state situation on this.
How long have you been at the Retailers Association?
26 years.
I figured it was a long time. I bet you were saying the exact same thing in, what was it, 2004, when the state banned smoking in restaurants, bars, and workplaces. Weren't you going to say, oh my God, people are going to go to bars and restaurants across the border?
Actually
nothing
not.
horrible
Actually
happened,
not,
right?
because that was statewide. And you know
this
what?
This is statewide.
Well, except that they don't have the political will to stop the Brooklines of the world from even going further, to go to 25 or to ban all tobacco sales, which is what they're looking at.
If they did that, if they made it statewide, no local option, you'd support this thing?
We would not oppose it.
We really would not.
We would not
oppose it. Have you told that
oppose
to the legislature?
We have been telling them that because, look, you know, what you want
Make
is...
a call right now,
We
by
want
the way.
economic certainty.
Understood.
For both the seller and the consumer.
Well,
and we don't have that.
Then I'm going to go further than he goes and go back to what that person on the street said. It's a tired argument, but it's a pretty powerful argument. I can go to war, I can get married, I can drive a car, but I'm together enough to do those things, but I'm not together enough to be able to decide whether I should buy a cigarette or not. I mean, there's a little bit of an inconsistency, no?
There is. I'm not going to deny it, but I think the data demonstrate that if you don't start smoking until you're 21, you're not going to start smoking. And I think we went to 19 in Brookline first, and then we went to 21. Anyone who's that age now can continue to purchase tobacco in Brookline or anywhere else. But I think it is reasonable to say 21 is alcohol, 21 is this, 21 is medical marijuana, 21 is tobacco. I'd be concerned about going too much further than that, but I think that's
but,
a reasonable
if you had your way,
thing.
I mean, John's on to something here. You'd make it 31, 41. I mean, essentially, if you could ban it, you'd ban it, wouldn't you?
I would not.
Why not? It's such a bad thing.
Because
why
I think what happens when you do a ban across the board, and that's come up in Brookline, and our Advisory Council on Public Health has opposed it. The reason why is because I think it creates a black market for tobacco products. And bans don't work. Those kind of bans on
Across
everything.
the board. Well, let me make another
They
suggestion.
don't work. It
Let me
didn't
ask-
work with alcohol, and it's not going to work with tobacco, and it didn't work with marijuana either.
Let's make another suggestion here. Let me make another suggestion. 80-year-olds have far more accidents when they're driving than a 30-year-old does. Should we ban driving by people over 80 years old? And if not, what's the difference between that and stopping a teenager from smoking at 16 or 18, 19, and 20?
I think that people should be allowed to drive if they're capable of driving. And driving is inherently not something that's going to kill you unless somebody hits you or you get into an accident. Whereas smoking is different. Smoking is the only thing I can think of when you follow its directions, you're gonna harm yourself.
But it's legal, as
It's
your
legal.
organization has said. Repeat, even if you have that position, and I think it's hard to quarrel that even there's no good thing out of a cigarette except the joy some people get, but it's a health matter.
And
But it
unlike
is legal.
alcohol, you're not going to hurt someone else, right? It's a choice that you make. I have a son in the Navy, and look, every now and then with his shipmates, he'd like to enjoy a cigar, and I'm not sure that's not a choice that he can make.
Do you know the California bill, which would make it the second state if it beats Massachusetts, that's on Jerry Brown's desk, the governor, has an exemption for people in the military. Would you support an exemption for people in the military?
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't thought about it.
So what is when you said a couple of minutes ago, and one of the things that troubles me about so many debates in Massachusetts is almost no common ground is found. It seems to me that the thing you mentioned a couple of minutes ago, this thing where we don't leave it to local option. If they're going to do it statewide, I'm not crazy about it. I think it's fair to say, but we'd live with it. Did you propose that and they said we're not willing to accept that?
That's right. You know, there seems to be a mentality on Beacon Hill that they don't want to say no to the local folks. I don't know if it's because that's where their opposition comes, you know, potentially in November, but they don't want to preempt local action, you know, a local board of health or someone else from exceeding a state standard. And that's a problem.
Were you a pretty resourceful 19-year-old?
My parents certainly thought that.
Well, and same with me. And so when I was 19, we didn't have an internet then. I think you're pretty much in the same category I was. What's to stop a 19-year-old from going on the internet or driving to cross the border to the north, to the south, essentially exerting him or herself a little bit more than currently? And obviously the use won't be at the same level, but if they're hell-bent on getting cigarettes, they get cigarettes, right? So what does it really achieve at the end of the day?
Well, at the end of the day, what it's achieved in Brookline and in Needham and in other communities that have actually measured it is the rates of tobacco use among young people has declined. So I think that data is pretty firm.
Does that not matter? I mean, I understand you
That's
have
an
a professional
important thing. It's a
responsibility.
good thing.
It should matter to you, right?
It does.
Especially
it is
if you have a
good thing.
kid.
It's a great thing for our public health and our health care and our health insurance. But you know what? I'm not going to tell, you know, in a free society, an adult, that they shouldn't smoke if they want to. You know, someone that's in the Navy or, you know, it's their choice. It's not like drinking where there could be, you know, real harm to someone else, drinking and driving. So, you know, there's all sorts of things, Jim, that we engage in today that you know, all of us have choices. Some of it may be risky and some of it may not be. You know, as long as it's a legal product, you know, why restrict it by age? You know, and I find it ironic that we're heading so quickly into deregulating marijuana, yet we're still beating up tobacco. And
Well,
know,
you say so quickly, virtually every law enforcement official and virtually every elected official is against it, but like happened in 08 and 12, the likelihood is the people will probably end up in a different place. John, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Good to see you. Alan as well. And by the way, while we were taping this, I was just told in my ear, the Massachusetts Senate did vote to approve raising the legal age to buy tobacco from 18 to 21. It's on to the House. And by the way, Charlie Baker has said conceptually he supports the notion. He wants to see the details.